All right. Well, I'm hoping some of you are already in here. We'll give another minute or two for people to join. All right. So we'll probably get started as it is 12 o'clock, and I don't want to keep people waiting. Certainly appreciate your time today and for your interest in Reply, including us in your evaluation. Certainly is appreciated. A little bit about myself. My name is Meshelle Hamlet. I've been with Reply in the North American sales team for about 7 years. However, I've been in sales a lot longer, so I'm very passionate about sales automation and how we can help optimize what you do on a daily basis to make you more efficient and be able to focus on more revenue generating activity. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into the presentation. So bear with me while I just share my screen here. All right, so hopefully you guys can see that. Now, this image was chosen by me because it, to me, represents that for a well-oiled sales machine to be successful, it does require a lot of moving parts. So in this presentation, I want to just highlight a couple kind of interesting stats that I saw for sales outreach for 2023, then just touch on some challenges that the sales departments face with this well-oiled machine and these moving parts, be able to kind of highlight some of those things, tell you a little bit about who Reply is, and most importantly, how we can assist you with overcoming those challenges to develop a really good sales machine that you can rely on. After that, we'll dive into some questions, hopefully, or open it up. You can certainly send some questions over chat. Alternatively, we'll include my link to my calendar, so you're more than welcome to set up a follow-up call and be more than happy to answer questions one-on-one or dive deeper in any specific area. All right, so without further ado, let's jump into a couple stats. So feel free to throw in some guesses in the chat if you wish. Otherwise, just guess in your head and we'll see how close you are. So first one, how many salespeople consider social selling to be a big critical part of their sales strategy? So 78% said yes. Therefore, if you're not incorporating things like LinkedIn, you can probably assume your competitors are. So maybe just some food for thought. Next, research shows that using personalized email subject lines can increase open rates quite substantially. I was actually surprised by this stat. So I don't know if there's any guesses on that one. 42%. So maybe something to consider on your next sequences. How many prospects prefer to do their own research before speaking to a human being? This wasn't too surprising, but it is a whopping 96%. So this just highlights how important and effective it is to constantly include very informative resources and content for your prospects so that they can do their own research. Another interesting stat that I'd seen was that 80% of prospects say no 4 times before saying yes. So again, you know, establishing credibility, sharing really useful information up until that yes will definitely set you apart from your competitors. And last but not least, how many salespeople find prospecting to be the most challenging part of their sales process? And I can kind of agree to this. So 46%, so almost half of salespeople find it hard to keep the funnel full. It's very easy to focus on revenue generating activity, closings, the sales cycle once it's in action, but it's easy to let it slip, the prospecting piece, until you notice your funnels run dry. So very important to keep filling that funnel on the back end, which is what we'd love to help you with. So why do they find it challenging? Sales staff are faced with many challenges. Again, many moving parts, a lot of manual tasks for most organizations, especially smaller businesses, managing not only inbound leads, but consistently, but also managing multiple personas within an organization if you're doing account-based selling, maintaining relationships and staying top of mind with existing clients to upsell and cross-sell, getting the prospects to begin with, building those lead lists, creating the content to be effective and engaging. And then also just being able to prioritize those leads based on how they're interacting with your content, right? So it's very easy to blast some stuff out, but then you want to be able to identify how heavily they're engaging with the content, even if they're not reaching back out to you to engage you in a meeting. So understanding if they've had multiple views of a certain subject email, being able to use custom triggers to dynamically move them into more effective content, being able to re-nurture leads every 3 months that may have not engaged with you just yet, but have definitely shown interest in your content. Right, next, sales op and IT. So they have their own sets of challenges, certainly with managing many disparate technologies and tools within the sales tech stack. And these are just some to name a few. And because of so many siloed systems, there's a lack of consolidated reporting. One of the biggest feedbacks I get from the sales ops team is that they invest all this time and money and all these great technologies for the sales team, but they see often a lack of user adoption due to not having the proper resources for training and onboarding. So that's certainly something that we would focus on and assist with for larger teams facing this. And of course, number one priority to IT is always maintaining the integrity and health of the domain and doing this safely. So we'll touch on that as well, but we do have a huge focus on deliverability, including a team of deliverability experts. And then last but not least, sales management. So again, they also have their own sets of challenges. One of them being a little bit unique to them is a high employee churn, especially with the junior sales team. BDRs, SDRs sometimes do move over every few years. And there is a lack of knowledge transfer. So a lot of wonderful leads just slip through the cracks. So we want to make that process very seamless, just pick up where they left off and make sure nothing is lost. Also not being able to compare sales reps or sales teams' performance and activities, because we all have our own secret sauce. We all do things a little bit differently, but management being able to understand where they're spending their time, what activities, what channels allows them to pivot the sales strategy or even standardize best practices across the team for very consistent results. So given that you've attended today's call, I would imagine that some of these challenges that I've mentioned may resonate with you. And so therefore, let's jump into who Reply is and why it is that we would love to assist you. So we've been around for about 9 years. We have grown to 120 employees globally, many happy clients, and definitely lots of sales, lots of accolades across our sales engagement and sales AI solution, very reputable, solid, innovative platform. And so more importantly, let's dive right into how it is that we can assist you with overcoming some of those challenges and obstacles. So we'll dive into Reply itself. So this is where you'd sign up for a free trial. If you decide after this call that you'd love to get in there and kick the tires, by all means, please do so. We certainly give you 14 days to experience the full platform. So I'm going to dive into my account here. So now, although your free trial will look a little different, of course, you would have no sequences. Oh, actually, I put some, never mind. Either way, you won't have these here, but this is the main dashboard, and you would start your first sequence here. But before we even dive into sequencing, I want to just address how we operate. So unlike marketing automation, where they're blasting out 10,000 newsletters a day or things like that from their server, in a platform like this, we are connecting directly to the email accounts or mailboxes that you connect. So it is important that you consider whether you want to use your primary domain or multiple domains. Either way, it is crucial that you mimic natural human behavior as much as possible when using a platform like Reply. So the safest way to scale is certainly to add additional mailboxes as opposed to increasing the volume on one particular mailbox. We do recommend that you do not exceed 200 emails a day per mailbox, but believe we'll let you go up to 400 if that hasn't changed. Apologize. But yeah, recommendation would be 200. Once you've connected your email, there's a lot of things that we do as a system, but then also as a staff. We will automatically check your DNS settings, ensure that everything's been optimized for deliverability, protect the domain long term. So if you do get red lights here, we can assist you with resolving those things. You also want to possibly set up a ramp up period. So we do offer warm up services, protection mode, but even if your domain and your email accounts are really well seasoned and ready to go, I would certainly not recommend any sudden spikes of activity. So if your habitual behavior is about 30 emails a day, or you've warmed up to 50, you don't want to just suddenly spike to 200. Particularly if it's all the same content and initially all one-way communication. None of that is natural. So you do want to tell our system, hey, start me at 30 or 50, whatever you're comfortable with, and then increase in increments of 5 or 10 until I reach my desired maximum. That way you don't need to manage that. The system will take care of all that for you. Putting your signature separately from the sequencing is a good idea as well, just so that if you do have nice images, logos, graphics, they're going to fly under the radar and be seen as part of the V card. And then, of course, opt-out text is critical as well to be compliant with CAN spam. If these are cold, unsolicited emails, you should have some form of opt-out, either an unsubscribe link or even just plain text, letting them know that you'll respect their privacy. Okay, at any point, anyone responding to the email is removed and marked finished, replied. But again, to be compliant, it is a good idea to have something there. If you are using Google or G Suite, we do integrate or have a built-in Google Calendar as well. So this could replace potentially your Calendly or Chili Piper by setting up your availability and buffers. Include your description, include your Google Meet or your Zoom link, and then we'll generate a link here that you can just copy and paste right into the body of your messaging, okay, whether that's email or LinkedIn. And we'll come back to custom triggers. Hopefully we'll have time, but for now I want to jump into actually creating a sequence. So we do have a few options, and you will notice across different platforms, they call it different things. It could be journeys, campaigns, cadences, we call them sequences, essentially all the same thing, just a series of scheduled events. Now we have a couple options. You could build off of one of our templates if you really wanted a baseline idea of how to do this. You could, or the goal is to build certainly your own team templates over time based on best practices. So it's just plug and play for the team. Again, going back to really seamless user adoption. Initially, though, you would have to build it from scratch or from Magic. So we'll dive into from Magic first because it's a lot cooler. So this is one of our many AI features powered by ChatGPT. So you could easily create, let's see if I saved it. Nope. Sorry, I thought I had saved it. I do have one here. So we'll just grab this one. But you're going to get a prompt and explain to Jason AI what type of business you are, who the audience you're reaching out to, and the purpose of that. You can use improvement prompts to say, make it friendlier or more formal, persuasive, make it shorter. I'll be diving into the AI scoring card in terms of content length, but just know that's certainly available. All right, so what it's doing is it's going to generate an appropriate email. I can regenerate it and try multiple times to see if I prefer something else. And then once you've gotten to the content you like, the template you like, you hit next. Now, Jason AI is going to formulate an entire sequence based on that value proposition and those pain points for you. And you can always edit every step individually or remove them or even replace them in that workflow. Okay, so this allows you to really streamline the content creation of these sequences to, again, just hit the ground running. The wizard still walks you through this very simple process at the bottom to get through each step. We do have data as well. So if you have a prospect list that you want to import via CSV, absolutely fine. But if you're starting from scratch, perhaps you need a list of prospects. So you could segment here using filters like the state they're in, the company size, the industry, their revenue, and certainly titles. Okay, so this would allow you, I'll just pull up actually a quick list. So whatever your criteria is, it's going to produce what is available. So in this case, I have almost 200,000 records. You can select individual records that you do wish to download or save, or you can select the list or even everything on the list. Sorry, so page or list. We always give you their emails. They are valid, or we've validated them. If we have a phone number, it is included, and certainly their LinkedIn URL so that you can automate your LinkedIn communication and your sequencing as well. All right. Okay. So another component of JSON AI, very exciting, is that now JSON AI can also read all the responses that come in from your sequencing. So although you may get them in your Gmail or Outlook inbox and answer them manually like you always do, we're still going to capture a copy of that response in order to categorize it based on sentiment analysis. And that will certainly affect your reporting, your custom triggers, perhaps your integration to your CRM. So this is definitely going to the sentiment analysis comes in very nicely with the overall management of the system. But then reply handling takes it to another level where we'll read it and auto-generate a potential response. And the more context you share with JSON AI, of course, the more accurate or detailed the response will be. You can save it as drafts or even send automatically if you want to have more of an automated SDR experience. Now, I'm going to jump into the consolidated inbox. Every sequence has its own inbox. However, across a team or across all your own sequences, you may want a consolidated view, particularly if you're managing multiple mailboxes for sending and you do not want to manage multiple inboxes. You have this consolidated view here. These are the sentiment analysis categories of what type of responses they are. And then all of your drafts would also be found here. So obviously with these tags, I can kind of prioritize who I want to spend my time with, who I want to jump to first. So Caitlin was marked interested, meeting intent. I would say that's pretty much the top category that I would want to address. So in this case, I put Caitlin in a sequence because she actually missed our meeting. So she received, of course, this email from me. She responded, so sorry, Meshelle, the day got away from me. I have rescheduled. So fantastic. I did get that in my Gmail inbox. However, Jason had composed this for me, which sounded extremely friendly and nicer than what I had actually responded with. So not a problem at all. I completely understand things get busy. Thanks for rescheduling the call, and I look forward to reconnecting. So again, not robotic at all, very personalized messaging. You can always regenerate if you don't like it, or of course, edit it as needed. All right, so let's jump back over to the sequence here. Now, there are two styles or two types, I should say, of reporting and analytics within our platform. So one is geared definitely more towards the actual end user. They care about the granular details of their content, their contacts, their tasks. So they're typically going to live within the sequences themselves. Now, having said that, again, we do have integrations to CRM. If that's your single source of truth, we can definitely maintain that either through our native integrations or through Zapier or Make, our open API. So there's various ways to tie this to other systems. But for now, we'll focus on the analytics within a sequence. So pretty standard or simple, and they're the same across the board, so quite easy to get acclimated. Your steps is everything you've built. It's all malleable. So at any point, you can go in and add some more split test to compare subject lines, your content, your call to action. You will be able to declare a winner under your stats and kill the underperforming templates as you declare winners to pull these underperforming ones out of circulation. Okay, and the system will always arbitrarily split your lists equally. You certainly don't have to pick and choose who gets which version. These intervals here between these steps are certainly adjustable based on your desired workflow. And in order to create an email thread, so if you want to make it look like you're just forwarding your last email with a new note, you simply leave it blank. If we don't have a subject line, the system will intuitively thread it to the previous email that did include a subject line. Okay, so please don't put subject lines and reference emails people can't see. I see that all too often. And then you can always adjust by adding more steps at the end. Again, nothing is set in stone. It's all malleable. So we expect and recommend you're always tweaking things. Now, people and stats are the two key areas, though, for your reporting or for the user's reporting. Again, quite granular. I want to know about all the 7,600 people that I have in my particular sequence here. Now, I definitely don't have time to sift through all this data, and nor will you. So you do have these default filters here. So if I just want to see the bounces or responses, I certainly can. But more importantly, when you're importing the contact lists, you have the option to create up to 50 custom fields. And I'd want you to think of those fields of data as dual purpose. One is to personalize the content, so certainly leveraging things like their first name, their titles, their industries, but also think of segmentation and reporting, because in reply, you can build absolutely any report you can dream of, as long as the information exists. So you can combine our analytics, any of your 50 custom fields, conditional statements, and then once you save that report, it becomes accessible under this More tab in every sequence going forward. So it doesn't matter where you created it. So I'll give you a really quick example, since I did touch on re-nurturing, or I mentioned it earlier. So when you have a sequence that goes out, especially in this day and age, it is a numbers game, but it is more importantly a timing game. Because even with the most compelling value proposition in the world, if there's no sense of urgency or priority on the recipient's end, they simply don't engage. At best, they think, oh, I'll get back to it, or they'll file it. So as salespeople, it's extremely important that we're consistent in staying top of mind with the right audience, so that when they are ready to make a move, you are the first person they'll think of. So I have just pulled up a quick filter here, and I've sorted it by number of views to show you how astronomical it is. Now, I've asked the system, just show me everyone who finished all the steps of the sequence. They have not responded, which means they also have not opted out, which is important. They didn't interact with my content, which is critical for me to know that there's at least some name recognition, possibly even something resonated with them. I also don't want to get flagged for spam if I'm continuously emailing people who are not opening their email or receiving it. Okay, so very important that that is a part of your criteria. And then I haven't touched these records in 90 days. So fantastic time to kind of just resurface and nudge them. I have over 1,100 records that meet that criteria. And as you can see, they viewed my emails up to 87 times, but did not respond. So in this case, I would definitely be able to just select them all and flip them all now into a new series of emails or activities in order to hopefully re-engage them. Okay, so just one of a million ways you can slice and dice your data for your own sequencing. And then in the stats, equally important, especially in the early stages, you need to understand how are each of my templates performing individually. Also, what's the trend? When are they most likely to engage throughout the process? The industry standard is around the 5th touch point. It kind of peaks and then it trails off again. So really important not to give up after 2-3 attempts. That is what typically happens in organizations where sales reps are doing all this manually. They just don't have the human bandwidth to do it 7-8 times. So they miss out on all this great engagement here. And this is where you'd compare your split tests. So I can see B outperform A by 10% in open rates. For me, that's my benchmark for declaring a winner. I would jump back into my steps and again, remove the underperforming ones. Now, opens and replies are great measures of success for sure. However, in the responses, there is a lot of noise that doesn't equal revenue or opportunity. So this, again, it boils down to that sentiment analysis and really honing in on the interested and meeting booked category. That's the real ROI. And once you've got a well-oiled machine, it takes about 2-3 months to get to a consistent conversion rate. But once you achieve that, you can start forecasting pretty accurately how many leads need to go in every month to yield X amount of new opportunities or conversations. We're going to jump back into steps for a second because what I did not dive into earlier was our AI scoring card. So this is one of our big differentiators. When you're creating your content, whether it be from a template, typing it up ad hoc, that's not a very good example, but typing it up, copy and pasting, or even just doing a quick summary and bullet points, you can ask ChatGPT to create the content for you right here. But the final litmus test is always this bar right here. You want to make sure that you're always clicking on that because it will guide you to write much better content for deliverability and engagement. I find this to be especially efficient for, again, more junior salespeople, people, maybe English is not their first language, but this is, very important to note that the top 3 is what you want to focus on to drive engagement, the actual interaction. Keeping it under 110 words or 111 is really important, especially, again, in this day and age. People are not reading cold, unsolicited emails. If they even open them, they're going to skim them at best. So you do want to be really concise, including questions, particularly ending on a question. It's just human nature to feel a lot more compelled to respond, unlike marketing-centric communication, where you're just kind of pushing information out or trying to build brand awareness. These 2 are more psychology-based, so not quite as critical if you can't get them green. Do your best there. And then extremely important for deliverability. So if there's any IT people here, they'll be happy to know that we will catch all the spam words. I had one recently with 11 spam words. So it's not hard to end up with multiple words like hello, get, open, free, call, opportunity. They're all spam. So you just hover over this. It'll tell you precisely which ones you have so you can easily revise them. I find typically switching to more casual language like hi or hey from hello or dear does get rid of that spam word. Emails can be automatic or manual. So if you do want to control over each step of or each individual email, you can. Or of course, switch the channel type. All right. Along the same lines with that is the personalization. So you can go into your preview and you can manually leverage unique insight for each individual. So if you've had previous conversations or it's a post-event follow-up. I used to do a lot of trade shows. I would have done anything for a tool like this back then because I'd spend my whole day crafting up all these personal emails to the people at the booth that I had conversation with. Now you'd be able to just go into the preview, see every individual, every single email they're scheduled to receive. But if you want to use AI personalization, a little different. You would select your category, your business category, and then we will actually look at their LinkedIn profile to see if there's anything we can leverage. You know, have they recently been promoted? Is there something in their interest or their summary that we can leverage again to create a unique email for each individual, which also helps with deliverability, but most importantly, convey the perception that someone's taken time out of their busy day to reach out to them. So they're much more likely to respond. Now, if we're not able to use AI to personalize it in this case, because maybe they're not on LinkedIn, it'll simply default to the template that you have created in the sequence. So at no point would they not receive something from you. All right, now, so that is the, again, more granular style reporting within each individual sequence. Management typically cares at a much higher level. So they don't necessarily need to see your contacts and your content, but they maybe want to understand across the team, how's the team overall performing? How many meetings are they getting booked? What does the conversion rate look like? Are some reps significantly more active than others? In this case, you can kind of tell who does a lot of the outreach in our company. But if these people are all on the same team doing with the same use case, this would be a huge red flag. Why are some people so much more active, or why are results varying where one person could have much higher interest rate versus someone else who's getting all opt-outs? So again, this gives them that insight to standardize maybe someone's templates or sequences across the team so that they can achieve consistent results. Same thing with the channel efficiency, especially if you're going to experiment with new channels like LinkedIn or WhatsApp, then you want to be able to understand where the efficiencies are coming from. Where are we getting the responses? Where are we getting those meetings booked? Is it LinkedIn? Fantastic. Let's double down on that activity. Our call's a waste of time. Let's scrap that. So it allows you not only to see what the team is working on, where they're spending their time, but what is efficient and going to get them the results that you need. LinkedIn calls tasks, pretty much the same thing in terms of just breaking it down, again, being more granular. We try to always keep the UI extremely clean and intuitive. No matter how feature rich this platform gets, we have added so many things in 9 years, but still win accolades for how simple and user-friendly it is, because all this stuff is always high level. So only if you want to get into the weeds, you click on it and then dive into more granular detail. All right. And one last one here that I'll touch on, just because I know that this is not available in a lot of systems, or I get this request a lot, is how can we consolidate different pieces of information? So you may have a larger team. All right, it doesn't even have to be a large team. Maybe you're managing multiple inbox or mailboxes. But either way, if you want to consolidate the activity across the entire team, in our case, we have 4 different teams that use this. So I certainly wouldn't want to see everything, but maybe just the BDRs or just the AEs. And then same thing with the sequences. Maybe across multiple sales reps, they're tackling the same industry or the same persona, and you want to consolidate the information across those multiple sequences. You certainly can to get an overall high-level view, as well as, again, still break it down and get granular and see if there's nuances between the sequences, the templates, maybe deliverability on the email accounts. If there are IT people here, 2 quick little things about deliverability. One is that we do offer branded links if needed, and we also do email provider matching. So if you do have access to G Suite and Microsoft, for instance, you can connect both, and we will match them to the recipient's email server in order to optimize deliverability. All right. I think that's pretty much it. In terms of onboarding and training, again, a key focus for us, especially with larger teams where that it does tend to be a big issue. We have a wonderful client success team. So you'd be assigned a client success manager. You'd have access to integration specialist, deliverability experts, bit of copyright support. For teams under 3 users is considered a little bit more self-serve. However, we do have lots of resources. There's Free Reply Academy. There's the Help Center. You type in any keyword, pulls up articles, videos, screenshots, webinars, and blogs all the time. And then there is, of course, live chat support in the application. So these guys can answer you within minutes. So I think we've covered pretty much most of it. The integrations that are most relevant typically are the CRM, because again, that is usually the single source of truth, and we don't want to create any redundant data entry. Our system doesn't allow for duplicate records and can maintain suppression lists and blacklists. So by all means, you can continue to dump new leads in or even create full automation of syncing of information between your CRM and Reply. Again, if they're not listed here and they're not native integrations, there's all kinds of other options with Make and Zapier. We do also offer open API and webhooks. All right, so with that, I think I actually beat the time that I was expecting. I thought this would take a little longer. Oh, sorry, actually I could touch on this. So one of the things we have added more recently is the ability to assign stages to contacts as well as accounts. So although Reply is not a CRM, we do have some CRM-like functionality, particularly for smaller businesses that don't necessarily need a CRM yet. So we will let you store 100,000 contacts per user, again, up to 50 custom fields for all kinds of reporting and personalization. Even if those fields are blank, they will appear in your contact records. And you can always manually enrich this data later. So maybe you're speaking to them or you find something on their LinkedIn. You can always go in and add them here. You can dive in a bit deeper to understand what sequences they've been in, what emails they've interacted with, date and time stamps, add notes. So again, maybe not as critical for someone using a heavy CRM, but certainly acts as a nice mini CRM until then. And then we also have the ability to add stages. So if you want to assign a stage to a particular account, we added it here. So to either the account level, so if you're doing account-based selling, this is important. If it's individual contacts, that's absolutely fine. You can also assign stages here. So again, just to kind of categorize them, prioritize them, re-nurture them. And we do allow now you to create your own custom categories. So where this comes in handy sometimes is things like calls. If you are going to place a call, you want to be able to say that, hey, maybe the gatekeeper answered or things like that. So we do have call disposition, but this allows you now to expand beyond that and the call resolutions, the stages, and so on and so forth. Actually, I did promise at the beginning of this call that if we had time, which looks like we do, I want to show you custom triggers. This is really cool because in the sequences themselves, you'll notice that any platform that does sequencing, it's a very linear process. It's day 1, this happens. If no engagement, day 3, this happens. If no engagement. So we can get way more comprehensive than that. by adding custom triggers to create dynamic journeys. So anyone familiar with marketing automations probably seen this or is familiar with this concept, but essentially you can use when, if, then statements. So things like, hey, if the contact clicks or when they click on a link, if they're in this sequence, just as an example, could be any, they're in a sequence, then maybe move them to this sequence or add them to this list. So you can create all kinds of segmentation in your people tab, your global people tab across your team. My team has almost 400,000 records. So if you just want quick segmentation, you can click on those lists, or again, using those triggers, add them to a list, maybe called hot leads, or it could be multiple engagement. The area where I recommend custom triggers the most typically is when you are going to do anything omni-channel that requires manual intervention. So calls in particular. Sales outreach is definitely, again, a numbers game, but it's also about timing. And you definitely want to be very efficient with your time. So we only have a certain amount of human bandwidth. So to be able to scale that cold outreach, to dump 300 cold leads in a sequence, the last thing I would want is 300 call tasks assigned to me on day 7. It's not a realistic use of my time, nor is it efficient. I'm just spinning my wheels, allocating the exact same amount of time and resource to every cold lead, whether they even received the email or opened it. So I would use custom triggers here to say things like, okay, this is all automated, it's email and LinkedIn. However, if they meet certain criteria, they've either opened multiple emails or clicked on a link or viewed them a certain number of times, dynamically move those recipients now into this other workflow where the first step is a call task, because it'll be a smaller targeted group that will definitely yield a better potential result of booking a meeting. So it warrants me investing the time to follow up and chase them. Okay, so with that, I know it's a lot to digest. We do have a fantastic YouTube channel with about 65 videos or tutorials. They're only 2-3 minutes each, very topic specific. So it breaks all this back down into nice, easy to digest, bite-sized pieces. But I will open it up to questions. Unfortunately, I think you're all muted. However, you will be able to ask questions on the chat if you have any. Or, as I said, I think Rima, one of our marketing queens, was going to add it, but I'll add it here too, just in case. My calendar link, so that if anyone does want to schedule a follow-up call or deep dive into specific areas, more than happy to. Oh, wow. Okay, lots of questions here. Okay. All right, so Jason, I sequence already looks like a big time. Okay, a lot of nice comments. Thank you. Okay, how long is the average time to get support if we have a problem? So the live chat support, those guys answer within 10 minutes. But depending on the issue, if it is something that does require an actual trouble ticket or has to be escalated within our development team, it could be 24 hours. It just depends on the incident. But typically, most questions are answered within 10 minutes. Good question here. Meshelle, what, from your experience, what's the number of steps considered to be optimal? I kind of touched on that with the, for cold outreach particularly, minimum 5 steps. Okay, so, and that could be, again, multi-channel, doesn't have to all be email, but you definitely want to keep touching them. As I mentioned at the beginning, one of the challenges, or the stats, sorry, that I saw was that 80% of prospects say no 4 times before saying yes. So you do need to be pleasantly persistent, and definitely add value. You know, you're trying to establish credibility, not just keep nudging them of, hey, do you want to talk to me now? Hey, do you want to talk to me now? But hey, I thought you'd be interested in this white paper, or I thought this, you know, could help your business. As long as you're establishing value, they're less likely to opt out and more likely to remember you, as well as engage when the timing is right. Does this have integration with other channels like LinkedIn? Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I didn't even dive into the LinkedIn. I knew I was missing something critical here, guys. I'm so sorry. Let me share my screen here. I want to actually address this one for everyone. Okay, so when you're creating a sequence, that's what happens when I stray from my normal workflow. I'll do it from scratch. Okay, so instead of automated email, you could switch to LinkedIn, and you have two options with LinkedIn. The semi-automated version allows you to have a little bit more control. These tasks are assigned to you as people hit those steps, and then you would execute them. So even though we call them manual, it is semi-automated because the system does a lot of the work for you in terms of getting to the contact record on LinkedIn, opening up their connection request, transferring your template, but you do have to physically click send. Okay. Alternatively, full automation is certainly also available. So just like email, you can set it and forget it. And then you can assign all kinds of steps in your sequence. It could be connection requests. It could be just liking recent posts, endorsing their skills, making it look like you're interacting quite a bit with their profile, which often helps too, as opposed to just immediately throwing a message at them, hoping that they'll engage. And again, incorporate that with emails. So you can be sending an email, then a connection request, and vice versa. Okay, so thank you for that question. That was a good one, and I apologize for forgetting to show that right away. Okay, what else do we have here? Oh, broadcast messaging on LinkedIn. No, not broadcast. It is still very one-to-one communication at scale using email and LinkedIn. I think the question here was about, it says SM automation, but I'm assuming that's SMS automation, text messaging. So we do have text messaging or SMS as a step available, as well as WhatsApp in our sequencing. Having said that, there are new laws, anti-spam legislation with respect to text messaging. So it can only be used for opted-in communication. So your inbound leads, your existing clients, things like that. It is not available anymore for cold outreach. So just be very transparent about that. Okay, thank you, Rima. I see you did put my calendar up. Okay, so I think that's all the questions we have for today. Again, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you guys taking the time or investing the time and evaluating Reply, considering us as hopefully either a new solution or an alternative solution to what you're doing now. Again, we have a very passionate team here for the last 9 years. Most of us have been here from almost the beginning. So definitely love any opportunity to interact with you guys. Again, schedule direct meeting if you want to jump in my calendar. Definitely take us up on our 14-day trial. At the very least, you will be able to test out all the services or the features, launch sequences to up to 300 net new contacts. You have 200 credits to play with our data product if you want to get some free leads. And most importantly, take advantage of that AI scoring card, because even if you decide to move to a different platform, or perhaps you're already using a platform, that will give you a chance to identify where the weaknesses are in your communication. Is it too long? Does it have too many spam words? So please take advantage of that. And then after the 2 weeks, there's zero risk or commitment. It'll literally just default to our freemium plan. So no reason not to test it out. Hopefully after this call, giving you a little more incentive to want to get in there and get your hands dirty. So thank you all. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, Rima, for kind of moderating or adding some stuff in the chat there for me. And hope to speak to you all soon. Bye for now.